Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Ian Green, and I'm the musician for Music Dreams and also for Ian J. Green, two different artist profiles you can find wherever you stream your music. And today I'm going to be discussing part two of Unit 5 of the Level 10 Harmony course that's provided through the Royal Conservatory of Music in Toronto. And today we're going to be discussing applied chords, but as an applied leading tone diminished seventh chord. So now in the previous lesson, we discussed how the applied chord could be used where we have applied dominant seventh chords. And there are different opportunities to do this in different keys and how that chord can be thought of in a different function where instead of transposing to a new key, we can actually use the dominant seventh of 2 or the dominant seventh of 4 and use those chords as a way to create a different sense of coloring and making sure the accidentals are written in, but we haven't technically transposed to a new key. Now, something that's interesting is we can actually use the same function, the same secondary dominant or applied chord, but using the diminished seventh chord as well. This would mean that instead of having the dominant seventh applied to like the 2 chord or the 4 chord or the 6 chord of a scale, we would use the diminished seventh chord instead. So we want to think then about how the special accidentals are included in that new key, and also then how the coloring of that sound really alters in a short-term way the music that is being written. A lot of this kind of material, especially with diminished seventh chords and secondary diminished seventh chords in this case, were used a lot in the music of Beethoven and onwards, so in going into the Romantic period and beyond. So let's say we're in the scale of C major, and we want to go to the 4 chord, which would be F, A, C, and think about that for a moment. If we think about what the diminished seventh chord of that key could be, it is E, G, B flat, and then there's also a D flat, which is not technically part of the scale, but if we create a diminished seventh chord on the 7th note of F major, it would be E, G, B flat, and D flat. So if you want to create an applied diminished seventh chord of 4, it would be E, G, B flat, D flat, moving towards F major afterwards. So we can have E diminished seventh, going to F major, going to G, 7, so it really creates an interesting coloring, doesn't it? It really creates an intense dramatic tension. But it's only short-lived because we haven't, again, transposed into a new key. We're just using the diminished seventh chord as a coloring chord to decorate another type of chord in the scale outside of the tonic. The diminished seventh chord is a very powerful chord, and also the half diminished seventh chord is useful too, because we can use those chords instead of the dominant seventh chord. But at the same time, the function is still the same. We can use inversions, but making sure that the diminished seventh chord of something else is applied to that chord in the original scale with special accidentals. That's where, in that example, we are in the original key of C major, but the diminished seventh chord of the 4th note would include the spelling E, G, B flat, and D flat, of which the B flat and the D flat would have to be included in the spelling of that chord. It would have to then move to F major and then move on to something else while not transposing to that key. It really creates some nice moments, and composers really embraced that, especially the music of Brahms and Mendelssohn and other wonderful composers of the Romantic period. Chopin in particular really embraced that sound because there's a lot of expression that can be brought through that chromatic sound and those really interesting accidentals that are included. I hope this tutorial is helpful. I look forward to seeing you for another one very soon. And until then, bye for now.